All right, everybody, welcome to a new week of Double Oscar Rewind. Cinephile Mike here, and it is day 43 of my series of video commentary that reflect the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. I dig deep into those IMDb profiles, and my hope is that you will discover a new, older favorite or revisit something you maybe haven't seen in a while. As always, I'll be discussing the recent Oscar connection, awards history for the film, box office information, critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler-free. Now, before I jump in, do me a favor, click that subscribe button. You definitely want to be a part of all of the cinematic goodness that is here. So, in this theme set, we are focusing on the designers and their teams. As many of those folks who delighted our senses with costumes, production, makeup, and sound that I can pack in, today I am looking at 20th Century Studios and Amblin Entertainment's musical remake of West Side Story. Directed by Oscar darling Steven Spielberg, with an updated screenplay by Tony Kushner, based on the original scripts by Jerome Robbins, Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim, and Arthur Lawrence, the film was released in December of 2021. Now, by the end of its run, which was actually delayed a year due to the pandemic, which possibly still hurt the box office at the time, the film made $38,530,322 domestically, with an additional $37,485,849 internationally, for a worldwide take of $76,016,171 against its reported $100 million budget. 2021 was a rough year. But critically, the film was well received despite the poor box office showing. It shows a 91% critical rating from 391 reviews and over 2,500 audience reviews, giving the film a 93% on the popcorn meter. Now, this new iteration of West Side Story had a significant awards season, ending with 7 Oscar nominations: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, Best Sound, and a win for Ariana DeBose for Best Supporting Actress, repeating Chita Rivera's historic win in 1962, who won Best Supporting Actress for this role, and where she was the first Latina actress to win the award. DeBose also made history with her win as the first openly queer woman of color and first Afro-Latina to win an acting Oscar. West Side Story had almost 300 nominations in total, and I could talk about all of them, but that's not why I'm here. But I'm going to highlight a few. Look, DeBose was the dominant force that year, winning awards for her portrayal at the BAFTAs, which also nominated the film for Best Supporting Actor for Mike Faist, Production Design, Sound, and awarding it Best Casting. DeBose also won the Golden Globe, which nominated the film for Best Director and awarded wins to Rachel Zegler for Best Actress and named it Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy of the Year. At the Critics' Choice Awards, where DeBose won, it was also awarded with Best Editing and 9 other nods, which included Best Picture, Supporting Actress for Rita Moreno. Yes, she popped up in a supporting role here. Best Young Actor or Actress for Zegler, Best Ensemble, Best Director, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, Production Design, and Best Costume Design, and I will bring up that name here, for Paul Tazewell, and that is why we are here today. Paul Tazewell received his first Oscar nod for his work on West Side Story and won for the gorgeous costumes that were a part of Wicked. Fun fact, also a renowned costume designer in the theater world, he received his second Tony Award this year for designing the stunning costume for the Broadway production of Death Becomes Her. And another connection here, West Side Story was the second time he'd addressed Ariana DeBose, as he won his first Tony for costume designing Hamilton on Broadway, of which DeBose was in the original cast. So, for those who aren't as familiar with West Side Story, here's something short. Adapted from the Shakespeare classic Romeo and Juliet, instead of the Montagues and Capulets, we are transported it to the 1950s in New York City, and our warring sides are the Jets, a gang of white youths led by their fearless leader Riff, played by Mike Faist, and the Sharks, a gang of Puerto Rican youths led by Bernardo, played by David Alvarez. They are fighting over control of the San Juan Hill area in New York City's Upper West Side, a neighborhood that will soon be demolished for the creation of Lincoln Center. The Jets are not happy with the massive immigration of the Puerto Ricans into New York. They want them out. And meanwhile, they just want to achieve their American dream. Amidst this, Riff suggests one massive rumble, and he needs his best friend Tony, played by Ansel Elgort, a former member of the gang, who's trying to make up for his past crimes, to come and join him. However, he's trying to turn a new page in his life, and what also doesn't help is that he has met and fallen for Maria, played by Rachel Zegler. Now, Maria is the recently arrived cousin of Anita, played by DeBose, who is Bernardo's girlfriend. So we can see the conflict there. Now, Tony also works in a small market for the very motherly Valentina, played by Rita Moreno. Now, these two are Romeo and Juliet, want to be together, but there are so many things pulling at them, it becomes almost impossible as they venture for their union, and it will not be as easy as blood flows, betrayals occur, and, they search for somewhere they can be free, and is this possible? Now, when this film was announced, like many, if I remember correctly, a lot of people were not necessarily excited for the remake because the original, the 61 film, it's a masterpiece. But I have to say, when I watched it, I was charmed. Putting aside the scandal surrounding the two leads, Zegler is absolutely charming with a stunning voice to make Maria truly a heartbreaking character that you root for. And while Elgort doesn't quite match her in level of performance, his Tony is still strong enough to stand on its own, and it's supported with Faist as Riff in a massively standout role. I mean, his talent abounds, and he steals the thunder from anyone he's on screen with. I'm actually surprised he didn't receive a little more acclaim. And, when Challengers came out this past year, he was as much a draw for me in that film as Zendaya was. And obviously, I can't say enough about DeBose. She is electric from the moment she comes on screen, to singing and dancing to the song America, to a very tense showdown in Valentina's shop at the end, which was so powerful. I remember saying after that scene, I'm like, you know what? I looked at my friend. She's going to win Best Supporting Actress, hands down. Look, everything worked, and Spielberg's unique approach to the film even made it more engrossing. And part of this approach, which I talked about last week when I talked about Tim Fellbaum's The Colony, is that when characters spoke Spanish throughout the film, something that the original did not do, Spielberg elected not to include subtitles. So he wanted to show, have the audience feel the way that different characters felt when they didn't necessarily understand the language. And this was quite a gamble to, have a dual language film without providing the context. But it was really pulled off well, and part of it is the incredible performances we get from the likes of Alvarez, DeBose, Zegler. You're able to track every emotion they feel, even if you have that language barrier. Kushner's adaptation, which, kind of reworked some of the song order and created new characters, such as Moreno's Valentina, creating a little bit more depth in backstories with certain characters, especially for Tony and for Chino, marvelously played by Josh Andres Rivera. It really grounds the story a little bit more than the original. And, actions taken seem more justified when we get to the climax. And if your heart doesn't break a little, you might just truly be made out of stone. Let me talk about Tazewell's costumes. That's why we're here. They really are gorgeous. While, a loss and the category was loaded that year with the eventual win going to Jenny Bevan for Cruella, it doesn't take away from the vibrant colors he used, those gorgeous dresses flying all over the place in America, the more subdued costumes for others that just captured the 1950s so perfectly. His attention to detail helped define both groups and also create a solid through line. I could keep going, but I think you get the idea. Tazewell was well deserving of his nomination. Definitely worthwhile of his win for Wicked. I can't wait to see what else is in store for Wicked for Good later this year. The trailer already showed some of those costumes. He might be a back-to-back winner. Who knows? For me, I went in not expecting to like this retread of such sacred material, but I was wrong. West Side Story is a solid 4-star film. You'll be humming the tunes and impressed by the depths of character arc, not something always prominent in musicals, whether they be film or theatrical. Now, if you would like to watch or rewatch West Side Story, it is currently streaming on Disney+. As always, if you like what you heard here, folks, you know what I'm going to say next. Please make sure you click that subscribe button, like the video, share the video, spread the word. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd, and find lots of great additional content on my website, cinephilemike.com. All right, happy watching, everyone, and until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.